Hi everyone. Welcome to part 2 of how to navigate uncertainty during a major crisis. Enjoy. Hello everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the second part of our call, how to navigate uncertainty during a major crisis. And people are coming on live. It is an amazing time we're living in. We're really witnessing something that is going to be a major part of history forever. I feel very grateful to be alive and to doing my best to play a positive role when the whole world is in a state of chaos and confusion. And we're going to address a few different things today. I think the foundation of what we're going to do today is really I'd like to teach you and share with you some very important tools and ideas around faith and belief today. But I want to start off with a little bit of an update on what is currently going on. So right now, as the numbers are rapidly increasing, not only here in the US, but in most of the world from the virus, the United States is starting to experience a state-by-state lockdown. We currently have 3 states that are locking down. And to my knowledge, they've actually made it a misdemeanor if you break that rule. You're allowed to go out for food and emergencies. Only essential businesses can be operated other than your own business from your house. So my phone has been blowing up since last night when California announced their lockdown, and my email also. And here's what I want to say about what's happening with this lockdown, because it looks like it's going to happen state by state. I don't know if all the states will do it or not, but I think they probably should when you think about this as far as the whole of what we're trying to do, which is to stop this damn virus. I want to try to communicate today not to panic over this. In my viewpoint, having everybody really follow this shelter in place order is actually a very good thing, as difficult as it may be for some people to adapt to or to adjust to or wrap their mind around. It looks like it's the actual thing that's going to be necessary right now for us to get on top of this. So it's really a good thing. And I really believe in looking at the truth in things and looking at the good in things, because just focusing on what's not good about something can be a little addicting and really not good for our psyche. So let me kind of explain how this works as far as how it affects the mind. So the mind is a very interesting thing. And one of the things that's important to really understand about the mind is that the part of our mind that has the ability to choose is basically our inductive reasoning ability. And that's in our conscious mind. Now, our conscious mind is both inductive and deductive in nature. And basically what that means is that part of our conscious mind has the ability to choose, which also means it has the ability to reject something. So if we're consciously aware, if we're thinking, we can reject an idea. And whether the idea is true or not, we have the ability to accept it or reject it. When our conscious mind is shut off, it's kind of in its deductive nature, meaning that you really don't have the ability to reject it. Whatever's going on around you is just going in. And then it goes straight into the subconscious mind, where a person begins to act on it. So the subconscious is also called the feeling mind. It's the part of our mind where that releases our programmed emotional state, and that's how we start experiencing emotions. And a lot of people are experiencing emotion of fear and uncertainty and worry and this type of stuff. And what's important to know is, how do we keep our mind closed to negative things that are going on or unwanted information that we don't want to get emotionally involved in? Because the moment that you start getting emotionally involved in information that you really don't, you start subconsciously accepting it. And that's where a fear begins to build. It's also the way a belief begins to build. And what we don't want to do is unintentionally start building beliefs or fears or faith in the wrong direction that is going to upset our lives and upset our families and upset children, and where it's not needed. It's absolutely not needed. The idea is that we stay conscious, we think, we focus on things that matter the most right now during this pause that I talked about yesterday. So here are the things that kind of shut off your ability to make a conscious choice. And sometimes it happens that for a very short period of time, it could be just seconds, and sometimes it can go on for a long period of time. And it's the idea of fascination. So when we become fascinated by something, what ends up happening is that we get so engrossed in what's actually going on, what we're reading, what we're seeing, what we're experiencing. And it's kind of like we detach from our ability to choose in the moment, and all that information that is fascinating us in the moment goes right through our conscious mind into our subconscious mind, and instantaneously we start reacting to it in our physical body. And if we're really not careful, we'll actually start taking the actions that are associated with the emotions that we're feeling. So when I do seminars, when I do business seminars, when I do sales seminars, when I do self-improvement seminars, we often use the adage, like, this is what marketing and advertisers have known for years. It's how they get human beings to take action on something. They send a message, but then they create something, whether it's a story, or it's something that's emotional, or it's visual, that kind of fascinates a person. And because they're fascinated with the story or what's going on, that's why you see a lot of things like funny stories, emotional stories. If they're, if there's a pet commercial on television, and they're showing you how bad the situation is with a lot of pets around the world, and they play, that Sarah McLachlan music or whatever. They get you emotionally involved in what's going on in this story, but the message is they want you to donate. Okay. We know that like sports advertising, sometimes alcohol advertising will use social proof. They will use sex. There's all different kinds of the way they do this. Is they want to get your fascination, but the idea is that you buy or get involved in their product in some way. Fear is the largest seller in the world. Fear sells more than anything. It's unfortunate, but it's actually true, because our minds are more programmed to be aware of fear from a survival standpoint than they are about things like encouragement or positivity. So it's very important that we understand that. We understand that everything that's going on right now, most everything that's going on right now, is playing off of our fears. So we become fascinated from the point of going into self-preservation. We actually make the excuse, or I should say the rationalization, because that sounds less judgmental, I guess. The rationalization that we have to continue watching the TV, or we have to continue watching the internet or whatever, because we need all of this information right now, in case something changes and it affects us. And what's important to know about that is that that's the self-preservation side of us, basically hijacking our conscious mind and getting us to do what it was designed to do, which all of this fear that's being sold right now was designed to sell you into keep watching, so that numbers go up and sponsors pay more money. And that's why they keep doing it over and over again. Like literally, if you didn't want to do that and it was just information, they could come on once an hour or so, just give you the information, and then move on to their regularly scheduled programming. But that's not what they're actually doing. They're just constantly talking about it over and over and interviewing people and bringing in stories over and over and over again. And people get emotionally involved in this. It shuts off their conscious ability to choose not to do it. The message goes right in. And then I get texts and emails and calls from people because they can't sleep or they can't eat, or they're crying and they're upset and they're lashing out. They're getting into arguments. They're nauseous. They're not digesting food. This is all anxiety that's going on. And anxiety is nothing more than fear that's being suppressed. When we don't express fear in a healthy way and we suppress it, it shows up in our body as anxiety. So what we can do, the best thing that we can do is understand the facts. We need to understand the facts. We need to be informed. I'm a big believer in not shutting out everything, but being informed and then getting the hell away from it and going about your day. How do we go about our day? We go about our day just like for everybody that's listening this that's in business, that knows the benefits of running their day, scheduling their day. You cancel your cable, they say in the chat. Cancel your cable. It might not be a bad idea, actually. I love that. That's a good one. You have to be informed, and what we want to do is we want to calendar our day. I think it's very, very important now, almost more than ever, that we calendar our day. Why? Because it gives us something to focus on, and it allows us to design our day and create our day the best we can, the way that we want it to be during this pause, so that it's productive. And you can schedule in when you are ready to take in some news. Now, why would this be so important? Well, here's the reason. Because if you schedule in your day a few times during the day to get yourself informed and take in some news so you know what's actually going on, before you turn on the TV or to go to the internet, however you get your news so that you're informed, you can spend a minute and center yourself and get your conscious mind ready for what it's about to see so that you don't go into fear. And you can remind yourself, I'm going here to get facts. I'm not going to get emotionally involved in these stories. I'm not going to get emotionally involved in the fear. I'm going to get the facts so I know what's going on so that I can make conscious decisions, so that I can evaluate my choices. I'm going to write those things down as to how they impact my life, and then I'm going to get off. And I'm going to go back to whatever my calendar says I'm supposed to be doing next. And we need to fill our calendar with productive activities. So if you're still working, if you're still running a business, you schedule your calendar based on those great things that you're doing, and which I think are absolutely fantastic. If you can keep running your business, all the better that you can keep running your business, because every little bit that keeps our economy moving and keeps money flowing into your life, the better that is. But we want to schedule time with our family. We want to schedule time to make sure that we're eating healthy. We want to schedule time for exercise, for relaxation, for meditation. Self-care is vitally, vitally important during a time like this. And if we and for sleep is very important, and sleep helps you boost your immune system. If we really schedule our day to be productive from the moment we get up to the moment that we go to bed, you're going to find that your fear comes down, your anxiety comes down. You will be prepared to take in information off of whatever source that you get it from. Here's the thing here, folks, with the cell phone, right? I'm sure that all of your cell phones are blowing up with friends and family and with all kinds of information constantly. It's your choice whether you look at it. It's your choice whether you respond to it and how you respond to it. Like anything else, your phone, you don't have to look at every time a text message comes in. You can schedule time throughout your day to check your messages, and then you're practicing mindfulness before you check your messages. You're sitting down, You're taking a minute or so before you check anything. You realize it's information that you're taking in. You're going to stay conscious. You're not going to get emotionally involved in the drama or the stories. You're taking information so you can make better choices, so that you can evaluate your own life and anybody that you're concerned with on how you can help them. And then you respond however you need to respond, and then you get off of it. So you schedule a few times a day to do that, and then you get off of it and you go about your day the way that you need to. Believe me, anybody in your family or your life that is having an emergency, if they need to get a hold of you, they will know how to get a hold of you, or you can actually set up, like they call you or whatever. This way you're protecting your own time and your own mind and your own emotional state, and you can keep moving forward, making healthy decisions, healthy choices throughout your day. So what we're experiencing is very much like a very weird game where the rules are constantly changing on a regular basis. And in order for us to win this game, we have to come to the realization that we need to break some of our own rules in order for us to win. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of the communication that I'm getting from individuals is they're asking me questions like, do I have to? And then they give me the scenario. And a lot of it's around money. A lot of it is around business. A lot of it is around family, how family is responding or behaving because of this. And a person is basically, they kind of feel like they're in a no-win situation. So sometimes when it has to do with family or friends, they may have family or friends that are being very, very dramatic or traumatized or having severe emotional reactions to this. And they feel that they have to respond, but they also are coming from another place where they know they need to protect their own thinking and their own emotional state, and they can't stay engaged in that drama constantly all day. It's not good for their own psychology. And I agree with that. It's not. So what ends up happening is people start experiencing a ton of guilt and some shame around how they do or do not respond to other people. I want to assure you that there is absolutely no reason to feel guilt or to feel shame about your desire to not want to get dramatically involved in another person's situation. And please hear me. I'm not talking about a conscious, healthy response where you actually want to help someone. I'm talking about when somebody is overly emotionally involved in the crisis. They may or may not know how to calm themselves down. But the result of it is that they're basically spilling over into everybody's life that they can, because they don't know what to do with their energy and they don't know what to do with their thinking. So in this kind of a scenario, this calls for you to kind of be the adult or the person coming from a place of emotional maturity in this situation. You have to manage yourself first. We all have to manage our own sanity first, our own health first, but not from a neurotic or obsessive standpoint, just from a place of self-care. And then think through the best thing to do to help other people. The other thing is this: each one of us, and this is so very important, you may want to even write this down. Each one of us has a very unique gift and ability to help others. And the way that I help others may not be the way that you help others. And the way you help others may not be the way I help others or that other people help others. You have to help people in the way that you can help them best. If somebody needs help and you can't help them that way, don't feel shame or guilt about it. Help them find somebody else that can help them that way. But we can't be everything to everybody in this moment, right? Yes, we all want to help. We all feel bad for people that are suffering in any way through this. But if every last ounce of emotion gets pulled out of you, there's nothing left of you. And it's very important that we don't get to that state with anybody in this world, that everybody does the most that they can to take care of themselves, to accept personal responsibility for the situation that you're in, and really manage your energy. Right now, we're in the state of this crisis where every day those numbers are going to get worse, and it's going to happen for a while, and they're probably going to get quite high also, the numbers. We're going to hear more and more panic on the news, more and more distress on the news, more and more rumors going around. And we have to push all of that out of our mind and stay very balanced in what is the truth, what are the facts, and be part of the solution, not be part of the problem. Every time that we take something that is just an out and out rumor and we push that forward, we become part of the problem. Every time we take fear and push it forward into somebody else's life, we become part of the problem. So each of us individually can pull that back a little bit. Now, what do you do when you are afraid and you are being emotionally manipulated by a rumor or by hearsay that is scaring the hell out of everybody? I suggest that you have a family member or a friend or your partner or your spouse where you can spend a few minutes a day talking to each other. I talked about this yesterday a little bit, and really talk about the things that are scaring you. Maybe there is a complete rumor out there and you know for the most part that it's a rumor, but it got into your subconscious mind and it's scaring the hell out of you. You need to talk it out with somebody. That's totally fine. That's absolutely fine. But do it in a constructive way. We can talk with other people about things that are bothering us in a very constructive way where the story of what's actually happening doesn't take over the conversation, meaning that you both come from a conscious place. And I may ask Steph to actually model this with me in a minute here. Let me see if I can explain this correctly. But the idea would be that I would ask a friend or partner, whatever your situation is, I would say, listen, there's something that's really bothering me right now. I'm very emotional about it. And I need you to just listen to me for a few minutes. I need to just get it out. I don't know how it's going to come out, but I just need to get it out. And the other person agrees that they're going to sit and listen. Now, what's very important for the person on the receiving end of this is that they prepare their mind not to be emotionally involved in your story. You're just going to sit and listen, okay? And then the other person actually talk out what's actually happening inside of them, and the other person listen. And then it's your responsibility to ask for what you need in the moment. Maybe it was just a vent. That's perfectly okay. If you need something else, if you need a hug, if you need somebody to hold you for a minute, if you need somebody to tell you it's okay, ask the person or tell the person what you need in that moment. And then you switch and you let the other person go. And then you remind yourself you're not going to get pulled into their story emotionally. You're just going to listen, and then you're going to help in the way that you can. This is very effective if you do this a few times a day, but don't let it take up your whole day. It's so vitally important that we don't let it take up our whole day, and that we calendar our day so that we stick to the calendar. And you'll find that sticking to the calendar is very, very meditative. It's productive. You feel in control. You feel like you're doing something, and you're moving forward. Now, I want to talk a little bit about self-preservation for a minute. When we get deeply into self-preservation because of fear, you have to understand it makes you blind and it makes you very controllable. So when you're watching something and fear starts to grab a hold of you, it makes you blind, because all your brain is focused on is the fear. Our brain was actually designed to do that, by the way. When there's something that's threatening to us, it hyper-focuses on what it is in an attempt to understand it so that it can go into its fight or flight pattern, and it knows what to do to get away or, to stop it from actually happening. When we're in fear like that, we go into self-preservation mode. What do I need to do? In this case, like I spoke about yesterday, we don't have a pre-programmed pattern that tells us what to do when the rules are changing every hour and the world is experiencing something that it's never seen before. So then that causes a problem. And that's where you become very vulnerable to outside manipulations, scams, the scam, like people are running scams left and right. We have to be very careful of that. We have to think through and not act or take action on anything from an emotional standpoint and really think. And what's unfortunate is there are predators out in the world that are going to try to use this for their benefit. So if you, in every situation, make sure you vet the situation the best that you can, and you're making a very conscious choice about what it is that you're going to do. Remember that as the shelter-in-place orders continue to rise, if people start to panic, the panic can become worse than the virus. The damage from the panic can become much, much worse than the virus. So keep that in mind with the way you think about it, and also for the way that you're communicating with other people. Let people that are afraid of this know that this is actually a good thing. It's the way that we're going to win as human beings to break the back of the virus, by separating so that we can get a hold of it, we can stop it from spreading. And the only way we can do that is if we shelter in place. It's the only way that it's going to happen. Okay, so now what I want to talk about is I want to talk about something that I think is going to be very beneficial for everybody. Not only is it really a great exercise to do, but the understanding of it alone makes a huge difference. The idea is to really understand faith and belief, what they are, and how you can actually practice them in your life. And I'm gonna explain this in basically a non-religious way, but if you're a religious person, know that this works perfect with your religion, because all religions are basically based in faith and belief. Let me give you first the definition of faith. Faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Now, think about this. It's complete trust and confidence in someone or something. Belief is an acceptance that a statement or something is true or exists. The key word here is acceptance. So very often people use the word belief in a very erroneous way. And what I mean by that is really what they're doing is they're saying that I intellectually understand something, or I understand something is possible. But unless you're practicing it in your life, and unless the idea is completely integrated in your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your actions, it's not a belief yet. If you study the word and you go back hundreds of years, thousands of years, you'll find that the word belief was used very different a long time ago than it is today. Today, it's pretty common practice that we say, I believe this or that. And really what it is, it's just an intellectual understanding of something. But if we really understand these words, it can be unbelievably powerful how you can change your life with them, and you can change not only what's happening in your life, but you can create what you want to create, the situations, the circumstances, a lot of the challenges that people are facing right now, that individuals are facing. You can overcome these challenges and create or manifest what you want in your life by understanding these words and knowing how to use them correctly. So part of the idea around this is that we have a trust in faith or a confidence in someone or something. That's also part of the definition of belief. When we have confidence in something, what does that mean? It means the feeling or the belief that one can rely on someone or something, a firm trust. So all of these words go very much together. The key piece of this that's so very important is that they're actionable words. When you really think about it, they're actionable words, because faith, it said complete trust and confidence. So if you think about, if I had complete trust and confidence in something, I would take action on that thing. because I would really believe and I would have the faith that the thing that I'm taking action on would come to fruition in my life. And belief is the same way. It's a total acceptance that something is true. And the trust and faith and the confidence that someone or something is accurate. And with the confidence, it means that you can rely on, with a firm trust, that something is going to create whatever it is that you're doing. So here's the idea behind this. What we want to do when we're talking about our calendar, when we're talking about our situation, when we're talking about our bills and our work and our job, is that we want to make the conscious choice that we're not going to let the negative come into our mind and start messing around in there and form a belief that everything is going to go wrong, or worrying about you may not be able to pay something, or you might be out of work, or your business comes to a standstill, and then it has that trickle down or that domino effect that everything's going to form in your life. You want to do is you want to build an image in your mind of what you desire based on the parameters of the new game that we're playing. If you remember what I said yesterday, we're pushing pause. This is pause for everyone in their life for a period of time, meaning that life is not the same. We're not playing by the same rules. We don't have the same channels of distribution in our life. Things cannot get to us in the ways that they normally would. And we need to be aware of that so that we can think from the place of this pause and not think about the way things were 2 weeks ago, but the way things are right now. It's so important that we do that. And why do I keep reiterating that? Because your subconscious mind does not have a pre-programmed pattern of thinking, feeling, and behavior based on the new conditions that we're in. You have to create them. However, it's actually one of the most amazing things that any of us can experience if we stay thinking. So the great author Wallace Waddell said that thinking the way that we want to think, regardless of what circumstances or situations indicate to us, is really the greatest power in the world. And the reason is that we're very sensory sensitive, so to speak. In other words, we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. All the information in our life comes in through our physical senses. What tends to happen is that we throw all of our faith and belief in what we see and what we hear and how we experience things that way. So if we see something or we hear something and we have visual evidence of it, we say, well, this is a fact. And because it's a fact, we start making decisions from the fact, not from what our desire is. And the outcome is very different. If you can get yourself to make a decision from what your desire is versus the fact that you see in front of yourself, you can completely change the results that you're getting in your life. Completely. But you have to be able to do it. You have to be able to change and come from a different belief and faith in your mind and what you desire versus the evidence that's outside of yourself. So what we want to do is, from the evidence that's outside of ourselves, the only thing that we want to take are the things that are actually factual and true about the situation that we're in right now. We don't need everything else, because all of that preys on our ability to have faith and belief in what we want to create. Next, we want to create a desired outcome for the situation that we're in. Now, this is very, very important, okay? There is a universal law. It's called the law of polarity. Some of you are very familiar with it. For those of you that are familiar with it, I want you to think about this. How we're going to use that law today is different than if you've heard me teach it in the past, and I'll explain for a moment. For those of you that aren't familiar with that law, basically what the law says is that everything in the universe, both physical and non-physical, has an opposite side to it. That you can't have something that has only an up and not a down. both have to exist at the same time in the same place, including problems, ideas, concepts in our mind. Everything in the universe was created in a completeness, in a whole. You don't see half of something. Something was just created as a half. Halves, or fractions, if you will, is done by the mental faculty of perception. We can perceive half of something. We can actually have our mind programmed to only see the pattern of a fraction of something. People do it all the time. Most people go through their life that way. That's why they end up with the same results in their life over and over again, because they can't see how to do something that might be right in front of them. I'll give you just a quick example of that. You can take an opportunity and you can show it to two people. One person has a lot of experience. So here's an opportunity. Say here's a business opportunity. One person has a lot of experience. They understand the patterns of business and commerce and sales and marketing and all of that. And they can look into the opportunity and they could see that it's a multi-million-dollar opportunity. You take another person who could be sitting right next to them looking at the same opportunity, but has none of that experience. In fact, they actually have experience in their life of hearing about people that tried businesses and went broke. One person will look at the opportunity and see a fortune of opportunity. The other one will look at it and see nothing but risk and fear and terror. Same opportunity, two different people in the way that they perceive something, okay? So this is extremely important when it comes to the law of polarity, because both sides, both things exist. If the person who only has fear and risk programmed in their mind, that's all that they can see and understand, if they were to step into the opportunity, they would probably fail and then say, see, that thing was too risky. I should have never done it. I lost everything. And the other person who understands the patterns of what they're looking at, they would take advantage of that opportunity and they would win really, really big. So see, both things exist with the same thing. And it's that way with everything. Nothing is all bad or all good. Everything has another side to it, but very often we can't see it. So in the situation that we're in right now, if we understand something that's very important, that the way good things, I'm talking about material things now, like money or opportunities or whatever. And it's very important that I make that statement. If the way all of those things come to us, the channels of distribution, the channels of being able to receive something, if those normal ways are cut off from us, we can't think about solving this problem in the same concept or the same way that we're traditionally used to. So we have to make that change in our mind. We have to understand that there's a new set of rules. That's why I'm saying that the facts of what is happening right now are very important for us to understand, because if we understand the facts, we can begin to understand how we can change situations and circumstances in our life. So a lot of people that are listening to this call, a lot of people throughout the country, throughout the world, are either currently in a financial crisis or they're very close to being in one. The longer this goes on where people have to shelter in place, the more chance there is of the economic tragedy of this actually starts to affect your life. And people know this. And they don't know how to change it. So I want to work with your faith, your belief, and the law of polarity here to show you how to change this. If you have, so I'm gonna read you something. Some of you have heard me say this many times. Others, this will be completely new for you. There's a great book. It's called Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell. And in this book, he was basically talking about how this law works. And he's talking, I'm going to read you just a little short piece. Basically, what he's talking about here is if we come from our true desire from something. So think about it in your desire to make money, or your desire for clients to stay with you, or people to keep paying, this type of stuff, so that you don't run out of money, whatever your situation is right now. And you can apply this to everything, by the way, but just think about it from a point of desire, not fear. He says, true desire represents the urge of life, seeking a fuller expression. and it is kept alive by the continuous expectation of its fulfillment. It brings to us the ways and the means for the manifestation. The principle explains that no desire is felt until the supply is ready to appear, and no mind can be conscious of a need or a desire unless the possibility of its fulfillment already exists. Now, this is why this is so important, because it doesn't matter that the circumstances of traditional, the way things came to us have changed. If you have a need or a desire, the possibility of what you need still exists. However, you have to really understand something very important. Right now, more than ever, a person has to understand the difference between what they need and what they want, okay? Because basically we're operating from what we need. What we need is something that we're raised with the idea of what we need. It's very much drilled into our subconscious mind in the form of a belief. You know how you live, you know what it is that you need. And that is being run by a belief. Okay, so that means that you have faith and confidence in what it is that you need. What you want may not necessarily correspond with what it is that you need or the belief. Okay, so that's very different. Let's just stick with what we need. Everything that you need is here, and it can come to you if you focus in on the faith and belief that it's actually going to happen. Now, if you say to me, when we go to the questions, if you say, well, that's a great idea, but you tell me how it's going to happen, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that because I can't look inside your life at all the different ways that this can happen for you. But I know based on this law and by helping people with this for 20 years, that if you do what I'm about to show you how to do, it has to work. It doesn't ever not work, okay? It doesn't ever not work. So you get very focused on what it is that you actually need. What do you want in your life? What's important is that when you do this, you don't come from fear. So you write down what you need. You actually write it down on a sheet of paper. You make it as real as you possibly can, and you make it as specific as you possibly can. Because the world and the universe works on specificity. If you generalize something, then generally a person gets back a general answer or some kind of confusion. You need to be very specific. If you know you need $5,000 a month to pay your bills, be that specific. Be very, very specific in what it is that you need for yourself. Now we have to create the consciousness around this through faith and belief in order to bring it in. And we must keep our minds very clear of all the fear that's going on out there. Your mind is both a sending and a receiving station. Your thoughts travel at 187,000 miles per second. It's just as fast as the speed of light. That means when you think something, those thoughts are going out through the entire universe and it's resonating with anybody who's on the same frequency. Like this is measured scientifically, okay? So you're in control of what you think. But if you allow things to come into your mind that are fear-based, your mind switches from what you want to what you don't want. And then you're sending those thoughts out. This is a time where so many people are going to manifest what they're afraid of instead of what it is that they really want in their life and what they really need. This is why it's so important to be in control and set up your life right now so that you're in control of what it is that you're actually thinking, right? You be very detailed in what you want. You write it down. You make a picture of it if you can do that, because it allows you to use your visual cortex to be able to see it, okay? When you do that, then the idea is that you practice gratitude, because when you're grateful for something that you have not yet brought into your life, you are doing what he said in the book. You're in the constant emotional expectation of something coming. And that's not fear, by the way. If you're coming from, oh my God, I know what I'm going to do if that money doesn't come in, that's fear. I need it from a place of fear. That's fear. So you're actually repelling it from you. You're not bringing it to you. So the idea is that you stay in gratitude for the thing that you want. Okay, I'm going to go to a different book here. And this is called God Works Through Faith. Okay, it's by Robert Russell. In this book, and I'm not being religious here. I'm just talking about some very solid principles. So if you're religious, great. If you're not religious, that's great too. I just want to point that out so that it doesn't shut anybody's mind off, because I know how people can get with these things sometimes. He says, faith and belief that you have the power to do all things is a magnetic power that brings the answer to your desire. The results do not come by chance, by accident, or by fate. They are molded by your faith in your power through the power of the universe. He goes on to say, faith, the way faith looks is it's an action. It's the glass under the faucet. It's the water wheel under the fall. It's the windmill adjusted to the wind. It's the sunflower facing the sun. It's the ear to the telephone. So it's an action-oriented thing. It's not just, oh, I have faith something's going to happen, and you don't do anything. It is based in action. Faith is a mental attitude against which there is no possibility of contradiction. In that attitude, it's directed toward God or the universe. It becomes your ability to do anything. When you have faith, when you focus, for religious people, it's when you pray. You have the right to expect an answer to your prayer or your intention, providing your conviction is in line with the nature of life. That means that whatever it is that you want is not for a destructive use. It's actually to add to your life. Now, this is the part that's so important. He says, your mind, however, must be so convinced of its idea. It must be so completely in acceptance of it that contradiction or denial is impossible. When you have absolute faith, there is nothing left to contradict what it is that you desire, and that you will manifest the thing in your life. That's why I was talking about faith and belief, because it is complete trust, it is complete confidence that the thing that you want is going to come into your life. Now, some of you might be like, this is great. Some of you may be a little skeptical of this. Here's the thing. This is one of those situations where thinking this way and doing something with what you can do, because remember, this is not just thought and not doing anything. This is thought and action. It's not something that is bad. It's something that will help you tremendously. Each person out there needs something. Now, other people, as you do this, what's going to happen is that people are going to get ideas for whatever reason that they actually want to help in some way. And this is where things start showing up in your life that you don't have any real explanation for. This is the neighbor that brings you something that you didn't expect. This is somebody sending you a check that you didn't expect. This is somebody calling up and asking you, how can I help you? And you have to do the same thing for others. When you get that hit in your heart that says, give somebody something or do something for somebody or call and check on this person, follow it. Follow it. It's not a coincidence that that's happening. We have to listen. We have to pay attention. So the idea is that you write down exactly what it is that you desire, what you need, and that you confirm to yourself with all the energy in your body, okay? It's coming, and it's coming right now. It is on its way to me. I'm very grateful that it's coming and that it's here right now. And you have to do this over and over and over and over again. If it seems silly, let it seem silly. The difference for you is it's how you get through what we're actually going through. There's no reason for everything to fall apart in a person's life. All you need is the opportunity and for things to come to you, and it's going to come to you by your faith and belief that it's going to happen. If you're going to sit around and you're going to talk about how bad it is constantly, and you're not going to come from a productive place, but you're going to come from worry and doubt and fear, that does nothing for you psychologically. Let's say that it did nothing for you materialistically, right? At least it would be a benefit to your own psychology and your emotional state. But it will do something for you materialistically. It will help tremendously, meaning that you have complete confidence and faith that everything that you need is going to make it to you, that you're going to get it. And then you have to pay very close attention to the opportunities that begin to show up in your life, because they're not going to come through the traditional channels that they normally do. Not for most of us. Why? Because we're in the house. So they're going to come to us through the ways that they can. So that's why you want to make sure that you keep the channels that you have clear and open, and that other people understand it. Your email, your social, your texting, your phone, this type of thing. So people know how to get in contact with you, to get in touch with you. One of the best ways to setting your mind up in a place of expectation, so like we expect something to change or to happen in our life, is to be a blessing in someone else's life. Because you're coming from a place of abundance. An abundant thought right now is, how can I help somebody else? We are a world in crisis. If we're all helping each other, we are sowing the seeds that will help us. When we help our brother or sister, we're sowing the seed to help ourselves. That is the way that we help ourselves, by treating others as ourselves. Remember, I said that the real definition of love, loving your brother, loving your sister yesterday, is considering their needs as if they were your own. That's how people can get through this pause, through this situation, without having too much damage in their life. It's also about communicating. It's about conversation. When you are in a situation where you may have to push pause on some of the things in your life financially, it's about having a conversation. It's not just not doing it, but having a conversation with the other individual on the other end. Maybe even asking the other individual on the other end, how can you help them? How can you be a benefit in their life in some way? Even if you just pray for somebody or hold a positive intention for them. Maybe you know somebody who's sick, or somebody that you know has a family member or something that's ill right now or having a hard time. That we use our marvelous mind to hold the right intentions for ourselves, the people that we know, and then for everybody in the world in a good way, and not let our mind be stuck in fear. There's absolutely nothing to be afraid of right now. Nothing. The other thing that I want to mention with this is the other thing that can really contradict faith and belief is shame and guilt. And you don't want to get into a place right now, if you can't fulfill a commitment based on the old rules, you don't want to get into a place of shame or guilt. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to feel guilty about. This was not something that any of us did. We did not do this. We're all in a very unexpected situation that causes that will cause each one of us to break personal rules. Now, I know that there's people listening that they've never paid a bill late in their life, and they're in a place where they're like, I'm not about to start doing it now. And it might get to the point where you don't have much of a choice, because the traditional channels can't get to you fast enough. That's where you have to understand what your real need is in the moment. Because I don't think anybody is going to expect anybody to go through this and not have those kinds of situations happen in their life. So when that happens, you have to understand that the level of need or value or ethic has changed. That rule has changed right now. It's very different if you had complete control over it, but you don't. And when that control is taken away, our value needs change. And in many cases, change very drastically. So we have to take that into consideration. Remember, we want to come out of the other side of this thing and win. We want to come out and win and make our lives bigger and better than they ever were before. And we can't do that if we don't understand the rules that we're playing by and the rules that we need to break so that we can come out on the other side with a win. The idea is that we don't let this damn virus strip everything away that we've all worked so hard for in our life. That means we have to make conscious choices about what we're going to do based on the facts, holding the faith and belief in our heart and our mind every day, and keeping that door locked and not letting anything negative get in. Deciding when we're going to watch the news, deciding what information we're going to listen to, not getting involved in dramatized stories. We have to really practice. We have to be very mindful of this day after day after day. I also suggest for a lot of people, I know there's a lot of talk about this on the internet, people are on in the news too, a lot of joking around about it or whatever, but I want to talk about like drug and alcohol consumption a little bit during this. I'm not against either, really, in a person's life. I kind of come from like, do you, man, like whatever your thing is, do your thing. But what I do know is that when we tend to overindulge, which this is a perfect opportunity for a lot of people to overindulge a little bit. We kind of have a tendency to want to numb out sometimes and not think about what's going on. You reduce your ability to use your conscious mind to keep the negative out. And then we find ourselves very susceptible to going down a negative road for a long period of time. The other thing, just from a scientific aspect, anytime that we drink alcohol, it reduces the function of our immune system. So know that, right? And it's important that we all keep our immune systems in tip-top shape right now. So that's factual. It's very important. Like I said, you do you. I'm just here to put out some good information, and hopefully it's useful to you, and it's going to make your life and your days for the next little while a little bit better, a little bit easier, and a lot more productive. Because we can be very productive right now. We can be very, very productive. A lot of us can still stay in business and keep working. A lot of us can really sow great seeds for the future when this is over. And for the people that can't operate their business or they're not working right now, there's no reason to have everything stripped away. Absolutely no reason. And we can still all find a way to get what it is that we need in this moment. But we have to practice faith, belief, courage, and conscious expectancy all the time of what it is that we want. It's a really great lesson in learning how to control your own thinking, because you have control over it. You do. But you have to also realize if we're going to have control over something, we kind of have to set up our environment to support us, not an environment that causes us to be very vulnerable to outside influences and, kind of the dark shit that's going on in the world today. So it's very, very important. So Steph, do you want to come on and let's go live on this thing, and we'll answer some questions.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Go ahead and type your questions in the Q&A.
I'm going to grab a tissue.
Bar. Okay, go get a tissue. Go ahead and type your questions. I see a couple of them in there already. I'll give you a second. I know yesterday some of you were putting questions in the chat. It was really hard for me to follow. So if you could put them all in place in the Q&A, that would be absolutely fantastic. And then when David gets back, we'll get started.
I'm back. As you can all see, I'm not in the office anymore, so we don't have the fire department knocking at the door. I'm at home.
Yes. Welcome to David's house. All right. First question is, can we use that fascination shuts off your resistance so the message goes right through concept in a positive way? This is from Tim.
Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. So it is about putting yourself in a positive emotional state and moving your body. So it's like if you were listening to really great music and having a positive thought in your mind and you were feeling it in your body, it would be the exact same thing, but it'd be a positive thing. So you can, there's ways to do this. Meditation, listening to positive music that has an emotional effect on your body, positive affirmations, but not just affirmations, like really getting not just like saying, oh, everything is great, but being emotionally, like it's wonderful, I expect things to happen, moving your body, feeling it in your body. Those are all good ways to do it. If you go out for a run, or you're exercising and you're repeating a mantra in your mind, that's absolutely fantastic. And the entire rhythm and everything kind of, it does do that whole mantra thing where it kind of opens up the subconscious mind and it lets the idea go right in.
Thank you. Just a quick note, Albert, I see your question, but I think you're missing something because it doesn't quite make sense. Can you resubmit your question in the Q&A, please? And next question. Okay, this is from Robin. She says, hey, Steph, this is Robin. Question for David. I deliver women's leadership training for Fortune 500 and mid-market organizations. Most of my programs are long-term, several months long, full-day workshops. In this pause, I'm trying to figure out how to pivot what I offer. Currently, I do not offer anything online. Everything is in person. I've reached out to both clients and past prospects, offering complimentary sounding board sessions to offer strategy, brainstorming, etc. in the midst of all this. Does David have any ideas of how I can pivot and still bring money in during this pause? Thanks.
Well, I think right now there's major corporations that have everybody in fear. So contacting and looking for a way to support CEOs. And she said women in leadership, right? Is that what, did I hear that
women's
correctly?
leadership training for Fortune 500 and mid-market organizations.
Yeah, I would start contacting them and finding out how you can help their people. That's what I would do right now, because they are looking for help. People are definitely looking for some kind of support. They don't know how to talk to their people. They don't know how to calm the fear. They don't know how to get their thinking in the right direction. That's what I would start doing. And I wouldn't be I wouldn't necessarily be so, like, I think it's totally fine to charge for what you're doing, but I wouldn't make that the first priority. I would make the first priority how you can help someone. And if it seems appropriate to go for, to set up a contractual situation, then go for it.
And from a technology perspective, it's very easy to host online full-day workshops. There's lots of different technologies that even allow you to host breakouts. So you can have everybody on Zoom, you can host breakouts, do different topics, time it differently. Like, there's a lot of really, really great technology that will allow you to do online workshops, online live streams. Like right now, we're doing this on Zoom webinar versus Zoom meeting. They have two different functionalities. So what I would say is do a little bit of research into that technology, because everybody's going to be working home for a while. You can get ahead of this and really offer some great value and still be able to communicate and deliver your message over the internet. Okay, next question. This is from Mariette. I'm a business owner that is still making revenue, but again, the lagging indicators are still there. I'm a mental health attorney and advocate. A month ago, I had plans to invest in additional coaching to create a new revenue stream within the mental health space. How does one make practical investment decisions in the business during these times?
Like stock market she's talking about? That kind of investment?
No, I think she's talking about investing in coaching to create a new revenue stream.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that right now, if a person has the money, coaching is a great thing because we have time. People are looking for the business right now. Coaches are definitely looking for the business. And you have the opportunity to be all set up for when this is over so that you can hit the ground running. I think that's a great opportunity.
Thank you. This next question is from Fiona. Hi, Fiona. Please discuss at some point the concept of seeing is believing or believing is seeing. Thank you.
Yeah. So most people go through their life with seeing as believing. So they want an external circumstance to prove the fact to them, and then they'll accept the fact and it becomes a belief. And so that is going through your life reactionary. The idea is that we have the ability to create our own life. Like, we're the only form of life that we're aware of that has that ability. All the little animals they're really born into their own world. They're just born into it, and they instinctually know what to do. Human beings are separate from that idea because we have the creative faculty, which means that we get to create our own environment. We get to adapt and create however we want. So the idea is that if we understand the concept, the idea of belief and faith and confidence and action, then we can build an image of the way that we want to live in our life, and we can manifest it through the actions that we take. So you think about this. Everything starts with an image in your mind. All of the things in the world that were created by human beings were first an idea in somebody's mind. They had no factual evidence that what they wanted could be created. It only came from that they very much believed in the image in our mind. And then as time went on, what ended up happening is, because we became so industrialized, and we had to push a bunch of kids through school in a short period of time, it became very important that people start conforming. And there wasn't a lot of time for daydreaming. There wasn't a lot of time for using our imagination, because we had to conform to the world as it was changing. So for the most part, kids are not taught to dream, and that it's okay to dream. They're taught the antithesis of that, which it's childish, it's immature. They have to get with the program, and they're in many cases only believe the information that they're given. So they learn then to kind of deify the senses instead of their own heart, their own intuition, and their own imagination creating whatever they want. So I would use the factual evidence that nothing could be created in this world by human beings without them seeing it first. If you think about Edison with the light bulb, he had no factual evidence that a light bulb would work or that it could exist, because there were none. The only thing we had was candle, oil, and like the sun and the stars. So he had an image in his mind of creating an incandescent light, and it took him 10,000 tries to do it, attempts to do it. And then he invented something that was only real in his imagination. But because he believed it and he was persistent in his faith, he created it. And that's how all things are created. I hope that helps.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Good.
Next question is coming from Becca. When I look honestly at my financial situation, I struggle to connect to faith and love because fear and shame are so present. What can I do to look at money and take action to make it from a place of love and faith?
So the best way to do that is to think about how you can help someone. I don't mean this in a judgmental way, but what did she say? Shame and what was
Fear.
it, Steph?
Fear and shame. Fear.
When you're in shame and fear, that's very selfish and self-centered. You're being selfish and self-centered, and you're being you're in a self-preservation mode. That's the word that I'm looking for. Just understand that. I'm not judging you at all, right? Like everybody falls into that sometimes. But consciously, if we understand that's what we're doing, we can make a different conscious choice. And we could say, if I'm going to be in love, I'm going to think about what's not only good for me, but what's good for somebody else. That's love in action right there.
Thank you.
Great question, Steph. Your questions
are amazing. These are such good questions. All right, this one's from Paul. Hi, Paul. How do we reconcile not being in control of this situation with not coming from a victim mindset and keeping an empowering mindset?
So here's the thing about a victim mindset. A victim mindset, basically, you turn all your power over to the thing or the person or whatever it is that created the situation that you're in. While we have all been victimized by this virus, we don't all need to be victims of it, meaning that it doesn't need to destroy our life. So empowerment, taking on our own power, taking our own power back, is an exercise in consciousness right now. So it's basically saying, even though the virus has created a chain reaction of decisions and actions, and that I'm in the situation I'm in, whatever situation you're in, even though all of the channels of normal distribution have been cut off for most people, and we've been forced to adapt to a situation that we're currently in right now. Even though we don't know how long this is going to go for, nobody can take away your individual choice. Nobody can take your individual choice. That means that you have a choice over every single thing that you're doing right now and the way that you're doing it. In order to create something different, we have to understand the parameters of which we're existing right now. Meaning that there are some limitations, there's some perceived limitations anyway in our life. But we have a window to the outside world with a computer and with a phone. And we can get a tremendous amount done working through that window, using that medium of technology. That's what's so great about this crisis, is that we can literally go anywhere in the world through this window, right? I remember when I was a kid, remember Romper Room, right? Do you remember Romper Room? Like, seriously, does anybody remember Romper Room?
Yes.
And she would hold up that damn mirror and she would look into it like it was a window into a different like a different fantasy, like a different, you know what I'm talking about, a different world.
Different world.
A different dimension. That's the world what I'm talking about. We can literally do that now through the use of a computer. That's what we're doing right now. There's people all over the world that are watching this right now, and we're communicating. So we can not physically leave, but we can leave through our actions and determination by the technology that we have. And basically, we can get anything that we want because people deliver things, and we can send anything basically that we want. So the idea is that we have to use our mind. We have to be creative and innovative, and we could basically do anything.
I think this piggybacks off the previous question. It was a question that we got yesterday, but I think it's worth mentioning because we've heard this over and over again. In the past, this is from Rochelle. In the past, you have said we are responsible for everything that happens to us. So how do we accept responsibility for this, and how do we think differently about it?
You're responsible for how you react to it. So you're part of the human race. There's a responsibility there. This happened. And you see, here's the thing. Because this has put limitations on people, that's why they're asking this question. I don't ever hear somebody say, well, I'm responsible for the sun shining, or I'm responsible for the storm that's over my head. Don't think about the virus as you being responsible for the virus. Your responsibility is how you react or respond to the virus and what's actually happened because of it. That's the only responsibility that we have. That's it. And that's the only way that we need to think about it. So don't let your mind get sucked into a wormhole of other ideas because they're not true. They don't exist. If somebody's teaching that, it's not solid teaching. You're responsible for the way that you react to the world that you're in. Now, I will say this, that because, so if you know, I guess well, I won't use that metaphor. It's probably not a good one. If you're in your house, you're responsible for how you create and experience that environment. It's not going to be forever. It's for a relatively short period of time. But how we experience it is our choice. We can experience it. We can complain and moan and mope and be in fear and all that. That's our choice. Or we can say, how can I make this fun? How can I make it happy? How can I make it positive? How can I be productive? Which means you have to put some effort, show some effort, put some effort into your thinking about how you're going to design your days. Put it into a calendar. A calendar is a very productive tool that allows you to, run your life efficiently and productively. I'm tripping over my words here. And it also sets it up so that we're basically blocking the world that we don't want in to our life and keeping it out there, because we're only deciding to look at things from an informative standpoint and not being emotionally sucked into the toilet that is going on out there with fear and negativity.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next question. At what point do you hit pause on financial obligations without making that decision out of fear or in a fear posture? Isn't the decision to stop or hit pause a decision that is made from fear?
Nope. It's made from rationality, right? You're looking at the facts and you're basically making decision from the facts. It's a math problem. If what you have coming in has stopped or slowed down significantly, if you're looking at what your spend is every week, day, month, whatever time frame you're looking at it, if that math doesn't add up to a surplus, then at some point you have to say, I need to remove this, because if I keep letting it drain out, I will have absolutely nothing. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to walk away from this having our bank accounts completely drained away. That is not a good thing at all. So, and that has nothing to do with fear. It's math. I have this much, and there's a time frame in front of me that's unknown. So if nothing else is coming in, the whole idea is that I stop it from going out. I prevent it from going out. So that's phone calls. That's calling the mortgage company and say, I need to put my payments on pause. I will pick them back up when this crisis is over. Thank you very much. And then you move on to the next person. And you do it over and over and over again until the outgoing has met the incoming, or if you don't have any incoming, that you stop. You've only moved it down to what's absolutely necessary in your life, period. That's it. No fear involved. No fear involved. It's the way the situation is right now. And then if you're in a position where you can innovate or you can create income for yourself by helping other people, do it. Nothing to be afraid of.
Next question. I'm in the field of executive search recruiting. With this pause, what suggestions can you offer to move forward when many people are not hiring and worried about whether their resources can afford such services?
Executive research recruiting?
Executive search and recruiting.
Executive search and recruiting. Well, so this is a really interesting one, Steph, because what's fascinating about this is looking at where that's actually needed the most, because right now there's actually a lot of companies that are hiring massively because they're so overrun with the productivity that they need to put out. So there's one place. Another thing is that a lot of people are not going to return to their jobs when this is over. It's just a fact. And they've talked about it as a real reality. Like, a lot of people are being laid off or let go, and they'll make decisions that they're not going to return. So what I would be doing is looking at companies based on what your expertise is around, what companies do or whatever, and start lining up how you can bridge the gap when it's over, obviously, when to fulfill the spots that need to be fulfilled that people are not returning to. It may be even phone calls to CEOs or COOs and asking them, how much do you expect people not to return to? And can tell me what you think you'll be needing, and you start looking for that right now and have it set up for when they go back to work. So, Steph, do you have any other ideas on that?
I don't, but I might have a resource. We have a great friend and client who runs a company called recruiteru.com. He's busy right now. He's got a lot of clients who are all recruiters who are in kind of the same scenario, and he's working really hard to create alternate ideas for what you can do to continue to build your business during this time. So I would suggest checking him out. It's the Recruiter U with just the U.com. And his name is Mike Gionta, Gionta, if you want to search him. Okay, next question. Just a second. This is from Yvonne. Do you keep the image in your mind all day, or do you just practice gratitude?
So as long as you don't have another image that's contradicting it. So what's the most, this is such a good question. The most important time you need to really focus on that image is when another a contradicting image is trying to get into your mind. That's the most important time to do it. The idea is yes, but you don't have to consciously look at it all day. This is why this one thing that's really great is a vision board, because every time you look at it, it reminds you of what it is that you really want, and you can kind of feel the corresponding emotion and gratitude that goes with it. But typically what I tell people is to take a little card or something and write down what their vision is on the card, and be very specific, and carry it with you in your pocket or your purse, or leave it out where you could see it all day long. And every time you touch it, you send a light message from your fingertip to your mind, and be grateful in that moment. Remind yourself to be grateful. And you can make up little rhymes about it, or whatever, to hold it in your mind. Be playful with it, be fun with it, and hold the gratitude all day.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion how we can take office work into home and create a structure around that?
I'm not sure what she means by structure. So I'm probably like productivity, you think, Steph?
So I think when I think about this, I think about it in three different ways. I think about time management, environment, and then like thought management, right? So the idea is that if you're bringing office home, you want to have an environment that you can get work done in a quiet way. For me, obviously, it's my bedroom, because I've got kids home and a dog and a husband who's working upstairs, and this is kind of the only quiet place that I can work from. But when you're bringing your office into your house, set yourself up with a really great environment that has everything that you need, in a quiet location where you're not going to be distracted. I would say communicate your work hours to the other people that are living with you. Like, communicate to your family, especially if you've got kids. Like, guys, mom's home, but mom's working. So between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., pretend like I'm not here. And in case unless someone's bleeding or dying, figure it out yourself, kind of a situation. Yeah. And then the other thing is calendaring. So, and I've experienced this myself. If I don't calendar when I'm going to do things, both personal and with business, and I know this is true for David too, because I see his calendar and actually put things and take things off of his calendar, is that you don't let work kind of bleed into what would normally be good quality personal time. Unless there's some high sense of urgency, there's something that you have to get done. So, don't wake up at 6:30 in the morning and skip the shower and go right to work and then brush your teeth at 2 o'clock, right? Like, try to keep your daily schedule as if you were going into the office, but just be your office in that small environment that you've created for yourself, so that you stay on a schedule. And that helps your kids stay on a schedule. It helps your family stay on a schedule as well. I hope that helps. And I know there was a calendar question. I saw it a couple times in the chat. We use Google Calendar. It's a great calendar software. Everybody in our team uses Google Calendar. We have multiple calendars depending on if it's a travel calendar, if it's a work calendar. So we highly recommend Google Calendar. All right, David, let's take one more question.
All right.
Let me just get to the next one. Here we go. This is from Lisa Marie. What's an effective way to balance taking care of our individual needs and still focusing on contributing to others? Many people that I observe eagerly helping others appear to be motivated by lack. For example, not feeling worthy, or desiring belonging, or desiring approval. Do you have suggestions on how to contribute from a powerful place rather than fear or lack, or does that matter?
Oh, it totally matters. And I agree with you. There's a lot of people that are doing it for very negative reasons right now, which leaves people very depleted. Like, a person will find themselves very depleted after that. And there's also an anxiety that goes with it. Like, I could go on for an hour about that. But yes, there's a way that you can do this for yourself. That's why I said earlier in the call that each one of us has unique gifts and talents and specific ways that we can help people. The gifts and talents that you have, when you use them in the service of others, it enriches you. It enriches your life personally. It restores you energetically, emotionally. It makes us feel fulfilled. That's why it's so important for a person to be on purpose with their life. So think about the specific talents and gifts that you have and ask yourself, because these are the things that you probably enjoy to do the most in your life with your work, and ask yourself, how can you bless other people? And then you might start thinking, well, who are the people that actually need my specific talents and gifts? And then search them and find them and help those people. If everybody did that, we would all take care of each other, and we would all be very much energetically and spiritually recharged because of it and not depleted.
Okay, I have just one announcement before we take one other question. David, on the training yesterday, you had mentioned that our team was busy putting together a resource page for people.
Yes.
That includes information on how to live stream, how to host a live event virtually, health and wellness resources, links to podcasts that talk about this, and also some links to some financial resources for our business owners. So we've created it. It's up and running, and I'm going to put the Sarah did too. Put the link in the chat. This link will also go out with the email that includes the replay. You'll get your replay emails every day, 10 a.m. the next day. So this will be in your replay email at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So if you're looking for some resources, you want some shortcuts, you want to check in on some of the things that David and I have said, especially about the loan information that I talked about yesterday, I've added that all to the resource page. So you can just go ahead and go to that link. Feel free to share that with anyone who might be a benefit from it. And we'll be keeping that updated. So we'll be changing it, adding and taking out things as we get more information about what's going on. Okay, David, one more question here. I'm a music teacher trainer, and I offer workshops and certification courses online. This past week, I've been releasing videos on a YouTube channel, 1 per day for free. I felt it was the right thing to do, but now I wonder, how do I transition this into something that can be profitable for me after this is all over?
Steph, I need you to repeat that one more time. I was very garbled on my end here.
Okay, sorry. We might be having an issue with our link. So I'm a music teacher trainer, and I offer workshops and certification courses online. This past week, I've been releasing videos on a YouTube channel, 1 per day for free. I felt it was the right thing to do, but now I wonder, how do I transition this into something that can be profitable for me after this is over?
Well, so, I mean, first of all, have conversations with the people that are listening to it. Ask for feedback. Ask them why they liked it, why they're listening to it, why they're using it. And you might have a business in a way, like you actually have to set up a structure for a business for it afterwards, but that's not all that difficult to do. The idea would be you determine what it is that you're going to charge for it. You might build a website around it. And then you can do it. Like you could teach people. People do it all the time. So this would be a great way to start planting seeds for it. Steph, did you want to say something about that? You look like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I think you've actually got some opportunity right now. People are home. People are looking, some people don't really know what to do with their time. They can't actually work from home. They might be looking for a different career job. The fact that you offer workshops and certification courses online really works in your favor. So your question is a little bit broad, so I'm not sure if you're saying you don't want to do that anymore, but I think releasing videos on YouTube is a really good idea to give people a taste of what you offer. And then it can lead into a conversation about, are they interested in your certification? And I also personally would be doubling down on any marketing during this time, because people are going to be more online than ever, looking for things looking to really get in touch with what they actually really want for themselves. And you can actually see growth during this time. So I don't want you to get the impression that that you're in the camp of, oh, I can't make money during this time. The opposite is actually quite true for you.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that have products and services that really benefit people right now, and they're making a lot of money in this moment. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. Go for it.
Yeah, double down. I would be. All right, let's see. We're at the top of the hour. Here's one. This is from Martin. How do we overcome the negative imprinting from narcissistic parents who minimized or invalidated our accomplishments and created trauma hesitation around financial and life success?
Yeah, that's a really great question. The first thing, well, there's two things kind of simultaneously. One is to forgive them. Okay. Anybody that had an abusive or a toxic parent, you have to understand something very fundamental about it. They passed on to you what was done to them. Nobody intentionally starts that kind of toxicity in their lifetime. It's generational. It's totally generational. It was passed on to them, and a person cannot give you what they don't have. So as much as a lot of us wish that we had a different upbringing, our parents can only give us what they have. You can't get something that's not there. So having said that, it's a great way to intellectually understand how to forgive someone in this situation, and then practice it and move it to your heart. But the idea is that as long as that trauma is going on, we have not become our own parents. We still have our parents being our parents in our mind. And it's time to step into your own authority. So the idea is that you take your authority back over the way that you think, the way that you feel, and the way that you behave. You're a grown-up, and the decisions that you make are yours and yours alone. You don't need somebody else's permission. You don't need somebody else's criticism or judgment over what you're doing. So when you take your authority back, it's about you being very conscious about the actions that you're taking and understanding that you approve them. So it's about consciously approving of what you're doing. And it doesn't matter even if you make a mistake. Like if you make a mistake, that's one of the great things about being an adult. You can own the mistake. You can take responsibility for it without judgment, and then you can learn what you need to do not to make the mistake again. That's actually a very good thing. That's how we learn as human beings. Mistakes are not a bad thing at all. So again, the idea is understand your parents didn't give you what they gave you because they were inherently mean. It was something that was passed on to them, even if it was really bad. Work on forgiveness and remove them as the authority figure in your mind and replace yourself as with your own authority. Now, I understand that for some people that can be difficult, taking back their own authority. And there is an intellectual process that happens with some people that have suffered abuse where they consciously think to themselves, but if my parents really didn't love and care about me, then how do I know that what they said about me or what they did and how I feel about myself, which is usually terrible, isn't actually true? And actually, from a psychological perspective, that does make a lot of sense why a person would ask that question. This is where a spiritual belief really changes the game. Because if you believe that you came from a higher power or a greater intelligence, whether you call it God or spirit or energy or the universe or whatever you call it, whatever you feel whatever you feel is comfortable for you, understand that you literally came from that thing, whether it's God or intelligence or spirit. You came from that, and you were born through your parents, right? Everything comes from the same source. Well, I'm going to call it the universe for now. Everything comes from the universe, but it comes through something physical. That's the way everything in the universe is manifested. If you're thinking about the universal laws, it's the perpetual law of transmutation of energy. Everything is always moving from a higher source to a lower source and then back again. It's the circulation of energy. So when you realize that, you also realize that there's nothing in the universe that is materialized that doesn't have purpose. Everything in nature has purpose. Every human being, every individual human being has a specific purpose for being here. That purpose was given to you by that intelligence. And if you begin to understand that, you can then start to build your self-worth on that idea because you have a purpose for being here. It's a very important purpose. You need to find out what that purpose is. You need to grow it and step into it and start taking action on it. And as you start to do that, you'll rebuild everything that your parents stole from you. You will start to build faith, belief, and confidence in yourself, and you will go out and you will live your purpose, and you will and you can create the life that you desire, period. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of how to navigate through uncertainty during major crisis. Check back tomorrow for part 3.